Tesla may have just gotten permission from the government of India to begin operations in India, not as a manufacturer, but rather as an importer. Now, this news is not yet confirmed, so do take it with a big grain of salt, but here's what we know so far. The government of India is thinking about cutting down the import duty on EVs from 70%, which is just too expensive to make it worthwhile for companies like Tesla to actually import vehicles and sell them in India. And they're thinking of cutting that down from 70% to just 15 to 30%. And just to be clear here, that 70% tax applies to vehicles that are priced at $40,000 or less. However, this new potential tax would be this 15 to 30% tax would be applied to vehicles that are priced between $25,000 and $35,000. Now, if you know anything about Tesla pricing, you're probably wondering, how would this help Tesla? Because their cheapest model, the base price of that vehicle is $39,000. So they wouldn't fall into this $25,000 to $35,000 USD bracket. However, there have been reports that Tesla is actually working on a new car with a Cybertruck-like aesthetic that would cost about $25,000. Now, of course, the ideal scenario from the government of India's perspective would be for Tesla to set up a manufacturing facility in India from day one. But from Tesla's perspective, they're not quite sure yet whether Indian people are actually going to be interested in buying Teslas. And Elon Musk has actually been pretty adamant about this in the past, saying Tesla will not put a manufacturing plant in any location where we are not allowed first to sell and service cars. Also, one very important detail about this potential new import tax structure is that companies choosing to avail these tax benefits would be expected to set up manufacturing facilities in India within 2 to 3 years. So this might be a nice middle ground for Tesla, which isn't fully comfortable yet entering the Indian market with a brand new factory, and also the government of India, which of course they want companies like Tesla to set up factories in the country. But anyways, let's move on now to another piece of EV news, another Ola Electric scooter fire, but this time it might not be Ola Electric's fault. Now, when you watch this video, you probably think, oh, it's the battery, it's smoking, it seems to be on fire, but actually the battery of this electric scooter was found to be completely intact. And even though it's good that Ola has fixed issues with their battery, this might be another wake-up call for Ola Electric because it's the top-selling electric scooter in the country now, and their sales could increase further with Ola's plans of building a bike taxi business on the back of these electric scooters. And the issue with that is that as these vehicles become more and more popular, the potential for people to tamper with them or use aftermarket parts, which is actually what Ola Electric is claiming was the problem here, that becomes more and more common as these scooters become more popular. So Ola Electric did release a statement about this particular incident, saying that it was one of their scooters in Pune and the customer is safe and unharmed. Their investigation revealed that aftermarket parts were to blame, that these had caused a short circuit in the vehicle, and then they encouraged customers to use genuine spare parts and accessories for all service requirements. And while I do understand where Ola Electric is coming from, and I agree with the sentiment that you should use genuine parts if you want to be completely safe, at the end of the day, this is only going to negatively impact their brand because customers and the public at large, they don't really care what's happening here. If it was the customer's fault or Ola Electric's fault, all they see is an Ola Electric scooter that is smoking, that's on fire, and they're thinking these vehicles aren't safe. And so from my perspective, Ola Electric only really has a couple of options at their disposal. One would be for them to just ignore this issue, keep releasing statements every time there's a scooter fire. Probably not the best option, but it is something that they could do. Another option would be for them to make their original parts, their replacement parts, more affordable so that customers feel more inclined to go to them for repairs rather than going to some third party, which might be less safe. Another option would be that they could actually make their vehicles with this in mind, that yes, people are going to end up using aftermarket parts. We get it. And so we're going to make our vehicles more compatible with those kinds of parts so that there isn't some kind of internal hardware conflict when people get out on the road and they're driving their scooters with these aftermarket parts. And then the last option would be for Ola Electric to work on making their warranty longer and more affordable as well, so that people are more likely to go to them during that warranty period rather than going elsewhere because the warranty has expired or maybe they didn't get a warranty at all. At the end of the day, though, I don't think this is a huge issue for Ola Electric. Yeah, it's a bit of bad PR, but at the end of the day, people are going to modify their vehicles. They're going to use these kinds of parts no matter what. and Ola Electric can only do the best that they can to respond to this issue. But anyways, let's move on to the next news item here because Dukaan is finally profitable. One of Dukaan's founders, Sumit Shah, took to X to make this announcement, and while we don't yet know the details, Dukaan is reportedly doing ARR of $1.5 million. Now, Sumit had faced quite a bit of backlash earlier in 2023 when he announced that they had laid off 90% of their support staff and replaced them with AI chatbots. His X thread on why they did it got 2.7 million views. It was huge. It went viral. It was very controversial, but it seems now that that choice to lay all those people off is actually working out for them pretty well. All right, next up in the news, you're probably aware of the fact that WeWork is likely to file for bankruptcy as early as next week, but I wanted to look at the India side of this business. How is WeWork India doing? So WeWork India's CEO has actually come out and assured everyone that the future of WeWork Global has zero impact on their India business. And the reason for this is that WeWork India is owned by real estate developer Embassy Group, which owns 73% of the company, while WeWork Global only has 27%. Also, unlike WeWork Global, which has been in losses for a while and is in huge debt, WeWork India made revenue of 1,400 crore rupees and 250 crore rupees in earnings in FY23. Karan Virwani, the CEO, also said that he's open to buying WeWork Global's stake in WeWork India as he sees long-term value in the company that he's building. All right, next up, let's move into the funding news. But before we look at this week specifically, I want to look at October in aggregate to see what happened in India's startup ecosystem when it came to raising funds. So in October, a total of 63 companies raised $1.27 billion by our count, with Ola Electric's debt round of $240 million being the biggest round that month. Now, this week, Indian startups raised a lot of money, almost $500 million, $484.45 million, compared to last week's $322 million, which was also a very big week, although most of it came from Ola Electric's $240 million debt round. Now, most of these funds went to online pharmacy startup Pharmeasy, which raised $420.5 million in a rights issue. And to quickly understand what a rights issue is, I've got this definition here. Cash-strapped companies can turn to a rights issue to raise money when they really need it. In these rights offerings, companies grant shareholders the right, but not the obligation to buy new shares at a discount. Now, this came at a pretty big discount. The company's valuation has taken a 90% hit from its peak of $5.6 billion back in 2021. Now it's valued at just around $500 million. Next up, though, we have a much more positive funding news story. Hyderabad-based space tech startup Skyroot Aerospace raised $27.5 million in their pre-Series C round after unveiling their Vikram 1 rocket. After that, we have SugarFit, a health tech platform that is trying to help people in the reversal of their diabetes. They raised $11 million in their Series A round. And then we have finance influencer Sharan Hegde's The 1% Club, which offers multiple finance education courses through their Financial Freedom University. They raised $1.2 million in their pre-Series A round. And then we also have Kunal Shah's latest investment, his 239th startup investment to be precise, FreshBus. And what these guys are trying to offer here is an electric bus travel experience made for Indian customers, which they're calling the future of bus travel. So this was a $900,000 seed round for FreshBus, which is a Hyderabad-based company, and they raised these funds from Kunal Shah along with two other angels, Sudarshan Venu and Deepak Garg, one of the founders of Revigo. All right, that's all I've got for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.